What is up? We are back again. I wanted to say something really cool to start, but I don't know what to say. So uh, we are back again for another episode of Bang the Drum podcast. We do appreciate everybody watching. Feel free to Venmo me. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, we just we got our first win. Looking forward to week 3. Just kind of a couple things that we're going to do today. We're going to kind of go over the game. Of course, we got to do a Chris Jones update. Why's my hat all fucking? Of course, we got to do a Chris Jones update. Then we're going to kind of look ahead at the game. Got some injuries to talk about. Yeah, so let's just kind of go ahead and kick it off. Let's start off with the positives. What did you like that the Chiefs did against the Jags?
I mean, mostly the defense again. Week 1, not everyone's clicking. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe the Lions, they got a lot of new pieces. Maybe they just weren't on their game. But to see it again against another good offense, I mean, from all levels, the front line looks phenomenal, and that's without Charles Omenihu. We'll get to Chris Jones here in a little bit. The linebackers are still good. We'll touch on them also in a little bit. And the secondary, I mean, Trent McDuffie is turning into a star in front of our eyes. Snead looks just as good as he has been. I mean, they're outplaying the offense by leaps and bounds right now. I mean, as far as
it's what we want. So we've never seen a Spagnuolo defense good the first 10 weeks of a season, and then usually down the stretch they play like a top 10 defense, then it evens out and they're 18th to 22nd in the league. It's just usually our defense is absolutely horrible the first 3 or 4 weeks, and we have to drop 40 points to win. So yeah, I definitely agree. The defense looks awesome. I try not to put too much. What's the word I'm looking for? Try not to put too much into the first couple weeks, because we do this every year. Good teams start out with bad records. Some teams don't look right. And then next thing you know, you look up, it's week 8 and everything looks exactly how people predicted it would be, minus a team or two. So I try not to put too much into that. But yeah, I agree. Things I really liked was the defense, and that's about it. I liked the fourth quarter run game.
Yeah, and I would also much rather be worrying about the offense right now, because I trust Mahomes, I trust Kelsey, I trust Andy Reid. They'll figure it out. They'll get to, scoring 24, 27 points a game if they have to. But I'd much rather see the defense look good now than have our normal Spagnuolo defenses where, like you said, we're having to score 30-plus every game to be in games. No, we can score 20, or in this case, we can score 17 and win a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree there. Now I kind of want to talk about some of the things that we didn't like. I'll just say I don't know if it's an Andy Reid thing, if it's a receiver thing. It almost just looks the offense looks just very vanilla. We know Andy Reid isn't going to show. He doesn't show hardly anything in the regular season anymore. At this point, it feels like they're sleepwalking to week 16, and then you have a couple games to get your 1 seed, and then that's usually whenever we start to see something. At this point now, that's what it feels like. I really want to see I want to see the run game, but I just don't think – I mean, it's Andy Reid. The one thing that doesn't make sense is he has done well with running backs before, especially in Philadelphia. They had Shady, Darren Sproles. It was the best duo in the league for 4 or 5 years. But that's something I really want to see. I just don't know if we're going to. Reed waited.
And, I mean,
like Mahomes'
how
career.
much of that is, the passing game isn't what it should be. When Mahomes is throwing for 300 yards, it's a lot easier to run the ball too.
Yeah.
And with the receivers, I think from the sounds of it, when Andy's, talking, it sounds like, and Luna would agree with me. It sounds like they're just kind of, testing stuff out, kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Mhm.
So I think later on, they'll narrow it down, get their guys. They're just kind of throwing everyone out there except for Justin Ross. But
Hey,
I think they're kind of just going through or not going through the motions, but kind of just, working out the kinks, finding who works best where.
mhm.
Obviously, we've got a couple injuries to deal with now, but
another thing
I'm
too.
not worried about it.
Yeah, another thing too with I'm excited to see the receivers because now two of them are they're Richie James and Tony is out. So, Rice looked awesome week 1, got like 2 snaps the second half after a huge first half. Last week, 2 targets, 2 catches. I just want to see him on the field. That's all I want is right because he's looking good. Sky finally had a breakout game. He had the one big play. He had a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was minimal until that. Obviously, a 50-yard catch makes your stats look a lot better.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of tough to. It's so hard when you don't see a lot because if you're only scoring 17 points, they only had to score 17 points. But if you're only scoring 17 points, or even the week before with all the drops and only scoring 20, you're just only going to see so much offense. It's just different. Teams are
a lot
ball too.
A lot with receivers is just tiny things. I mean, you don't get out of a break just that, half a step slow. You run a route slightly different than what Mahomes thinks you're going to run. And it's just stuff that comes with time.
Yeah.
And I think, if Rice and Ross or one of the two gets more work with Tony out, I think that could help us, matriculate down the field. I mean, Tony you have to draw stuff up for him, whereas Rice and Ross can just run routes and Mahomes will get them the ball if they're open. Even if they're not open, Mahomes will get them the ball. So,
Mahomes
it could be more
ball too. That's our wide receiver 1 right now.
More like, it's 3rd and 6, instead of running a screen pass, we can run, an actual, Kelsey runs a hook and we get a slant and we get a post, we get an out route, like actual concepts instead of just let's get the ball in the playmaker's hands and hope he can make a play.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I'm hoping, I don't know what Kelsey's deal was. Something weird going on. I don't know. He didn't look right. He just looked pissed the whole game. He punted the ball after he got it. He looks like he did when he was 25, 26 years
and
old.
He put a good boot onto it. It looked like he got it solid.
Yeah, but to me, it didn't look like he was doing it from being happy. Like he looked pissed.
I wonder if he's just not 100% and it just frustrates him that he can't play at the level he knows he can play at.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I'd like to see him return to himself, but he will at some point, I would think. But yeah, it just seemed off. He just seemed,
and right at the end too, he almost got in a fight.
Yeah, and it could just be the Jags too. I mean, I'm not saying that they're dirty players, but they're not clean.
But they're dirty players.
So they're pretty dirty. There's a lot of late contact, and refs aren't calling that shit week 2 unless it's blatant. They're just not. They're gonna call stuff on our offensive line. Lane Johnson gets absolutely praised for jumping off the line of scrimmage and being 2 or 3 seconds ahead of the snap when our guy moves when the ball moves, but since it's just before everybody else, he gets called for it. We'll see. I think it was just an overcorrection. It's a, hey, motherfucker, make it look less bad type of thing. The thing is I don't think he's false starting. Now, I do think he is lining up a little too far back, but I don't
like every other tackle in the league.
Yeah, I actually don't think that he's false starting. No, I think he's just lining up too far back. But they're calling it. So when we play the Eagles, we're gonna see if they're gonna call it even or not. For like we are going to see because Lane Johnson does it every single snap. So whatever. That's just me kind of bitching a little bit.
And I also wondered, just real quick on that, Jawan Taylor got pulled to finish out a drive. I wonder how much of that is just he wasn't, he was getting all the penalty calls on him, and so he was just thinking too much. He was like, okay, now I'm gonna, scoot up a full step, and I'm gonna, wait a half a tick before I do my normal, kickback. And I wonder if it was just getting in his head. And
I actually
worry about.
My thought behind it is a little different. I think that was for show. I think that was Andy Reid pulling him and saying, "All right, I'll show him that I pulled you." He was back in he was back in the same drive. Right. So I think it was just a show. Like, hey, you're, and then he put him back in. Like, hey, you're good. Don't worry. That's what I think it was because they were calling him. I mean, they got him like 3 times in one drive.
He had a.
They were watching him every play that drive.
Were the false start and the illegal formation the same drive? And then he had a hold.
I don't know. I just remember he had multiple on one. He did have multiple on one drive.
I think it was both of the things that they were griping about. They called in the same drive. They got him for a false start and for an illegal formation.
Yeah. So it's whatever, I guess. Let's talk about your boy. Chris Jones is back, and he was back. He got us some Big Macs for sack.
He was back in the Jaguars' backfield.
Yeah, he looked like Chris Jones. I mean, I don't think there's too much else to say about it. He looked like Chris Jones. That's how Chris Jones looked. Now, the only thing I will say, I don't want to be that guy. Jags were missing offensive linemen in this game. They were.
I mean, yeah.
But whatever.
With a guy like that, though, I don't think it matters. I mean, maybe he gets 1 sack instead of 1.5. But I cannot wait with how good FAU already looks, with how good Karlaftis looks, with how good Chris Jones already looks. When Omenihu comes back and they play those 4 across the line, that's going to be disgusting. And then we send Leo Chenal on a blitz. It's going to be gross.
Chenal's getting some more play time too. He's out there a lot. I'm actually seeing him.
And even like without Omenihu, I mean, Nadi's looked really good. Mike Dana has looked really good. I mean,
Dana was playing defensive tackle.
Yeah, like we were worried if we were going to be able to put 4 guys out there who belong on a field. And now it looks like when Omenihu comes back, we're going to have 6 or 7 guys who belong out on a field.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm pumped. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think there's shit. He looked like Chris Jones. I think the whole contract thing, we're kind of done with it now, and this will probably be the last Chris Jones update until he wins Defensive Player of the Year. So, yeah, kind of moving on from there. So we're going to look at our Week 3 preview. Chicago is an absolute mess. So first thing that came out is today, it was after. So Justin Fields does a press conference and calls out the coaches and says they're why he's not playing well. 5 minutes later, their left tackle gets put on injured reserve. So now they are going to have a right guard, backup right tackle, play left tackle. He has 80 snaps at left tackle in the NFL. So their offensive line is going to be sorry for cussing, guys. It's going to be a fucking mess. Their offensive line is going to be a mess. And it's already one of the worst offensive lines to ever take a football field as a unit ever in the NFL.
Ever.
Then, on top of all that, their news comes out that he got raided by the FBI. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's what people were saying. Now people are saying it didn't happen, but people are saying it happened. And somebody said it happened, and we don't know for sure if it happened. So I don't know if it happened. But then he resigned.
I just
The
saw a
defensive
tweet about it,
coordinator
and I was
resigned.
like, what in the world? Because it was him and one of the Hollis family members.
So they said that they raided Hollis Hall.
Hollis Hall, that's what it was. Yeah.
But then a report said that part didn't happen, but the other part happened. And then there was news that there was no raid done. I don't know what he could have been raided for. That's been kept real tight. There's just rumors, but there's nothing out there. You would think somebody would find something to release on it, but who knows? Who cares? I mean, one of two things is going to happen. We are going to absolutely dog walk them, or this is the type of shit that brings teams together too.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, I remember the Chiefs were so horrible, and then the Jovan Belcher thing happened, and then the Chiefs go out and beat the 14-0 Packers, and it's their only loss the entire year. So you never know. I don't think that the Chiefs I think the Chiefs are too good, but yeah, you never know. So that's kind of what I kind of wanted to ask you next is what do you kind of see happening with the injuries? Because I'll just say what I think just real quick. I think anybody that is even questionable probably shouldn't play, because my thought process is, okay, Pacheco's banged up. Do you need Pacheco to win against the Bears? Probably not. Now, the linebackers did go through, so you had Bolton and Gay. Bolton's the one that came back. Gay did not during the game. They both did go through full walkthrough today. So anytime that happens, the players usually play if they're in the walkthrough Wednesday. We're definitely gonna know more tomorrow by this time. So obviously Tony's out. Who else is out? We're missing somebody. Richie James is out. So my thought process is, if it's even questionable, I say just don't play him. And if you are really missing those guys, it's gonna be an ugly game. But I just think that the Chiefs are I think that they're just a little too good to lose.
Yeah, I think the problem with, play it safe is that's still an NFL team that you're playing on the other side. I mean,
I just don't think it's a trap game, though, because what happened with the Colts is the Chiefs went in there undefeated, and nobody.
Right, I'm not saying
we weren't.
I get it. I mean, I guess
I think the Chiefs are just so hungry. We're at a time too. We can look ahead at the schedule as well. We're at a perfect time period right now where the Chiefs should reel off 5 or 6 in a row right now.
Going up to the Miami game really is the next challenge. But I mean, but again, every game's a challenge. I mean,
yeah,
like Justin Fields could run for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, especially if our linebackers aren't playing. I mean, those are the two guys that are tasked with, bottling him up. And yes, Leo Chenal has looked better. I don't know if I trust him to go out there and just, not run around like a chicken with his head cut off. Mm-hmm. Tony and James. Tony's was a little less severe, I guess. Andy said that he played pretty much as he was going to on Sunday.
Okay.
But it was sprained toe. That's what it was. I mean, we've got 6 now with Richie out. We can, not play him or limit him even more than we already do. But I think, the linebackers, as long as they're don't treat this different than any other week. If this was the Bengals coming up and they're going to play them against the Bears. Now, if we're up, 21-3 at halftime, maybe you can start to limit them in the second half. But I don't think you go in there with the mindset of, hey, we can stroll our way to an easy win because
I don't think no. So I'm not saying I think it's an easy win. I just think that unless this mess just completely brings the Bears together, which it looks like it's not. I mean, the starting quarterback was calling out the head coach today. That's about as bad as it can get, especially going into week 3. I don't know. We'll see,
I mean, we could easily win by 20 or more points. I mean, hell, the line's 13 and a half, 12 and a half. Like, you don't see that in the NFL.
Yeah.
You don't see 2-score spreads, especially not double-digit points. Like, it just doesn't. You maybe get it.
You'll see a 10. You'll see a 10. Yeah, like you got the 49ers and the Giants. You'll see a 10 every now and then, but it's very rare that it's more than that.
Out. Like, this isn't. This is, for the most part, everyone full health, and we're 12.5-point favorites. Like, if Justin Fields was out, I couldn't even. I don't know if they could put the spread high enough for people to not bet it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I might do like an alt line, maybe take the Bears plus 17.5. But that would be, that's a lot of points. I mean, you never know. Garbage time, backups are in, get a touchdown. That kind of shit happens all the time.
I wouldn't mind, maybe putting it in a teaser, getting the Chiefs down to like 9.5. Because, even if the Bears are close, if it's a 3-point game late, all it takes is a Chiefs touchdown. And then boom, you cover. And I think, they could be like, oh, we got nothing to lose. Let's go out there and play. That usually doesn't last for 60 minutes. Usually lasts about 45, maybe 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm with you. I'm gonna just throw a score. I don't think that we're just gonna totally blow them out. I think, and it's just tough. So it's just tough this is a tough one to predict. Because the Bears have looked so bad, I try not to buy too much into the first 2 weeks. Chicago's such a mess. Chiefs offense hasn't looked good at all, really, to be completely honest. It really hasn't looked good. They haven't had to be. I mean, they're 1-1. They didn't have to be good to beat the Jags, who's probably. I mean, I picked them to get the 1 seed this year just because their division's so bad. But still, that's a playoff team. That game is going to matter at some point.
Within a touchdown from it ended up being 10, but a touchdown and then a late interception away from beating us in the playoffs.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think of a score. I can't really think of a score off that. I'm thinking maybe like 24-10, something like that. That feels about right. It's going to be a super vanilla offense, and if we get an early lead, Andy Reid, he's not going to stomp the gas down on the Bears. I just don't think that he's going to.
Yeah, I think. The Lions defense wasn't good last year, but they added a lot of impact guys. 2 first and second round rookies, or one of each, and then one of the best slot corners in the league. So who knows what that unit's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then the Jags defense is, again, not world beaters, but it's not bad. The Bears defense is. I think this could be a week even without Tony, especially, Kelsey's closer to 100%. This could be the week it finally clicks. I think we'll still probably stall out on a few drives, but I do think if Tony and Richie are out, our possession offense is better, or, working our way down the field. We don't have those. We threw a screen to Kadarius Toney and he lost 2 yards.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore. So I think I'm going to say 27-16.
Okay. So you're thinking maybe the Bears score late or something, or?
Yeah, I think, a few field goals, Fields might, hit a long ball to DJ Moore, break off a 30-yard run, get him into field goal range. They get a couple of those. We probably muff a punt. And then, garbage time. We're up 27-9, with 5 minutes left, and they go down and score.
Yeah, I will just say, too, if the special teams looks bad again, we're going to talk about it next week. I wanted to talk about it today, but it's 2 weeks. But I think the only reason Dave Toub has a job right now is because the Chiefs won a Super Bowl last year.
Well, and it's weird because, a few years ago, we used to have the best special teams. We still, Butker and Townsend are two of the best in the league at their position.
Technically, I don't want to be the guy. Butker was the least accurate kicker in the NFL last year. He hit 72%. He was very inaccurate last year.
But also, coming off of a ankle sprain, how long did that hinder him? He even said that he wasn't even late in the year.
No, I'm just saying. So that is something you do think about, right? Whenever we go to kick a field goal and it's 40 yards, you're just like, hey, man, there's a chance that he misses this. But it's not the field. It's the kick and the punts.
Yeah.
It's the punt. It is the punts, man. It is so bad. It's the punt returns, not the punts. It's the punt returns are what's absolutely fucking horrendous about the special team. I'll just talk about it now. The special teams, it just looks horrible. We can't return a kick. We can't return a punt. We don't even know if we're going to catch the damn punt whenever they punt it to us, let alone return it. And then also we're returning punts that would clearly hit at the 4-yard line and roll out of the end zone. I don't get it. I'm thinking Toad just said, hey, no matter what happens, return it. That's what I'm thinking happens, but I don't know.
I will say on the Richie James fumble, it definitely looked like he looked right up into the sun. Because you don't misjudge it that bad. It can go through your hands, it can hit off your chest. You don't misjudge it so bad it hits off your helmet.
He did do that, but there's 8 games a year in Jacksonville where other punt returners aren't doing that. That's all I'm saying is they're professionals, and last year they put guys back there that had never returned punts before ever. Whenever there are guys on the roster who have returned punts, it's so mind-boggling. But also, Richie James cannot be the punt returner anymore, man. He is terrible.
But also, we don't win an AFC championship and we don't win a Super Bowl
without Tony. Without Tony returning.
Sky Moore in the AFC championship returning the long punt. Well, not long, but 20-30 yards.
It is true. It's one of those things. It's like it's like Daniel Sorensen. It's like just whenever you're fucking done with him, he gets a pick six and wins the game. And it's like, my God.
And it's kind of a little bit of recency bias. Going into the season, we're like, all right, we returned 2 big punts in the 2 biggest games of the year. And then, we muff one. We're like, special team sucks. So, it's tough. Yes, you obviously don't want to see it, but I honestly think, the Sky Moore early in the season was definitely not a fluke. For the most part, though, I think muffed punts are just, it happens. I don't think
I just don't think it happens at the same frequency. Like it happens more for the Chiefs than it happens to anybody else. You know what? Next week I'm going to come back with some stats, and we're going to look.
Before we get out of here, I want to praise the Lord and whoever you believe in that on a short to go down in distance, Patrick Mahomes took the snap, turned around, handed it to Isaiah Pacheco, and he ran forward. And we picked it down.
Yep. There wasn't. I'd like to see more of that, but
They still even kind of did it a little tricky. They lined him up in like an offset, like where a fullback would line up, and they ran a little cross action. But they're getting there. They're getting
just to run a normal run play. Yeah, I thought he was actually going to sneak it. I thought Mahomes was just going to do it, but he didn't. But I thought he was going to for a split second. I was like, oh, he's about to sneak it, but then he didn't. So, all right, guys. Hopefully, it's a stress-free Sunday for us. It'd be real nice. It's been a long time since we had a stress-free game.
We do have an afternoon game, so we do get to turn on that NFL Red Zone on at noon and watch everything.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are signing out. We will see you next week.